I've had enough of stay-at-home mums. I've decided they have it too easy. Their lives are too simple.
All right.
Everything is just too straightforward, and it's not actually a job title, as you can see from the BBC, which we will read from at length because they're determined to make this a thing. Many women returning to the workforce after having children, so they face a challenging welcome back. Professional networking site LinkedIn recently added a new feature allowing parents to use stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad as a job title. Will it make a difference? In January 2020, after more than a decade raising her 2 young children, Heather Boland was ready to rejoin the workforce. On her resume was a master's degree and her record of a successful corporate career at Starbucks. But for the past 11 years, excuse me, she's been a full-time parent, not a title recognized by most recruiters. And so this, of course, was a real problem for her. She says, I hit a wall immediately. And this 11 years at home has been tough for her to get back into the corporate world after, I assume, her children have matured to an age where she can get a job now. And this is an implicit bias against women.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. What's so silly about this? We had babies. And as she says, this is an implicit bias against women. And you get lots of articles like this. This is from a Lunar Mag. I've never even heard of these before I started researching this article. But they were meeting Anna, a PhD scientist turned stay-at-home mum. From career woman to stay-at-home mum, a position she really does not enjoy, a topic that's often talked about. And so Anna tells us this, quote, my brain feels like jelly. I miss my job terribly, but I love my crazy children and their constant talking. Yet I am on constant and complete brain overload. I never felt before. So I miss having something else to focus on. I miss feeling rewarded for my work. Now I get shouted at because I'm not perfect and I never get a thank you from the children. I constantly say the same things every single day, but no one ever listens. Man,
It's just...
I mean, lately even
children.
my husband is doing it. Right, so we'll get to this. I'm setting this up, trust me. I used to be so efficient. As a scientist by training, I didn't have much of a choice. But I'm finding that since becoming a full-time mum, my time seems to be much more of a warp all day long. I never seem to stop still, yet somehow the day goes by and I have no clue what I've done all day. And somehow I'm also much more tired than when I did have a full-time job. My husband comes home and wants to chat about his day, and I'm like, can we just sit here in silence, please? And so that's a big sell. So hang on. It's tough being a stay-at-home mum, according to the stay-at-home mums. So I say let's hear from the stay-at-home dads and see what they think about it, because they're not impressed. If we can get this to the beginning, just thank you.
I feel like you're lying. Because of what I get to do for work, I can still stay home and pay all the bills. And my wife will have to go to work to make her money. And I have a 1-year-old daughter. So I'll stay at home and I'll take care of my daughter. And while I'm taking care of my 1-year-old daughter, I can give her 3 meals a day, change her on time, get her into her naps, play time, arts and crafts time, and still make sure the entire place is clean. And I can clean the whole apartment while watching her before 12 or 1 o'clock. And yes, I know an apartment is different than a home, but I have a 2,300 square foot apartment, so it's not tiny. But I do know that I can just be ignorant to a lot of people's situations. So can someone please tell me, when does being a stay-at-home mom become hard?
Right. I mean, you can imagine how that went down with stay-at-home mums on the internet.
Can we see the comments?
We can. So, obviously, I'm being very sarcastic with this segment, because this is obviously... I mean, what I love most about this is this guy being like, I've got a 1-year-old daughter, and it's no problem for me. It's like, yeah, because she can't walk. She can't, like...
She can't destroy as much as a
Exactly.
2-year-old.
My apartment's tidy all day. Oh, bro, it's not going to stay that way. Some of the comments on this have been hilarious, and we'll go through some. I mean, there was this one by a guy that was just brilliant. My wife's a stay-at-home mum of 2 kids. One just started school and the other is a feral toddler. You're on easy mode right now, champ. Update us when you have a kid that can move more and has malice in their heart. And
Yes.
it is malice against the tidy house.
Yes.
That both of my nearly 5 and 3-year-olds have, and yeah. So I figure what we do is we go back to the beginning, actually go through this in a sympathetic way, because actually I do totally agree that stay-at-home parent is a full-time job title, and actually, especially a stay-at-home mum when you're on your own, and your husband's out of work. This is actually not just a sort of domestic duty, but actually you gain a suite of skills that you basically don't get in the workplace, because the workplace is a lot more structured and there are a lot more rules about how you interact in the workplace. And so actually being a stay-at-home mum gives you incredible administrative skills and managerial skills. And this is something I've witnessed in my own life with my own wife. If I need something actually done, like bills sorted out or something like this, I'm actually really bad at it.
Yes.
Because I actually don't tend to develop the skills to, interface with all of these things. And my wife just gets these things done like that. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, if it wasn't for her, I would be, I would lose papers. I would lose, if it wasn't for her doing all these things. And then at the same time, managing my two incredibly rambunctious children, this is an unpredictable environment. And what actually being a stay-at-home mum does is teaches you how to manage an unpredictable environment, which is actually a really useful skill that a lot of people don't develop, because the workplaces we're in, and as this other woman here was saying, the workplace was so straightforward. It was so logical. Everyone was an adult there, everyone knew the rules, and everyone followed the rules. And so why is my life crazy now? And it's because actually you're doing something completely different and you're gaining a different suite of skills altogether.
Let me put it to you this way. It's quite difficult when they're very noisy and they're running around the house and doing crazy things.
God.
It's much worse when you notice that it's been 10 minutes of quiet.
Yes.
And that means that there is a disaster that you just haven't discovered yet.
Yes.
So the hard bit is that the noise can, all of a sudden you hear a very loud bang and one of them has fallen and possibly hurt themselves and you have to run for it.
You hear the screaming afterwards.
Exactly. Even worse if you don't.
Yes.
And then there is... Because my son, when he was young, he would stop breathing for a minute when he started crying.
Oh, yeah.
Which is petrifying. Yeah. Petrifying. Yeah. Absolutely petrifying. But then when they're quiet, and then you go and check on them, there's a 10% chance that they're just reading. There's a 90% chance that they're doing something that they absolutely should not be doing, and that's why they're being quiet.
Marvelous work of art on the wall with the crayons, for example.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the least of it. That's the least of it, because they used to really enjoy playing with the water in the bathroom.
Oh, I bet they did.
Which would flood the house.
Of course it would.
And so it's the fact that the silences and the quiet times are just as scary as the noisy times.
And it's because they play with their toys all day, every day. And so the toys, they're noisy, they throw them around, they don't care.
Exactly.
But when they've discovered something they shouldn't have access to,
yes,
suddenly their entire attention is focused on that thing.
Yes, yes. And they are artists at discovering the stuff that they really shouldn't be doing.
Yes.
And then doing it.
Yes.
And they're really brilliant at it.
Yes. And so I do particularly love this guy. Well, this is so easy. Yeah, a 1-year-old can't really do any of this.
None of the damage.
But not only
the actual damage.
Not only that, there's the stress of it as well, right? So, for example, my two, sometimes they'll just have screaming competitions.
Right.
Where they're running around and they start screaming, and then the other one's like, oh, I can scream louder than that.
Yes.
And if I walk in the door, I can just see in my wife's face, she's like, can I have some quiet? Yeah, yes, you can, darling. You can go just sit in the bedroom where there's no screaming children for an hour if you want. I'm happy to deal with them or whatever. And I promise I am, darling. Trust me. I might seem impatient sometimes. And so this whole thing teaches patience, right? It's a sort of, and I love this as well. It's like, what do you mean? I get the house done by 12, and then it's orderly for the rest of the day. It's like, it is an eternal struggle against chaos.
Yeah. Also, house chores are very time-consuming.
They can be.
We may not like seeing it sometimes, but many of them are.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't have children yet, do you?
Not yet.
Oh my God, man! Yeah. Like it's not just I've done the house chores. It is my children are waging jihad against the order of the house. Right, on a daily basis. For example, if you've got boxes full of toys, they won't take the toy that they want out of the box. The box has to go across the living room so they can pick and choose at their leisure for a few seconds until they're bored of that one and they're bored of that one. And literally, it can be you go to the toilet, you come back in, and it's a bomb shelter, it's a bomb site, and you can see why after having cleaned and tidied the entire house, your wife at 11 a.m. is just like, oh my God, I can't believe, and yet she's got no choice. If she wants to have an orderly house, which everyone does, she has to do it. And so it's one of those things where it is a level of personal control that the average PhD student has no idea about.
Yes.
And that's why the PhD student who's like, my God, I feel like I can't think straight. Yeah, I bet you feel that way, because that is actually what happens.
Because no matter what it is that you're in the middle of, when there is the emergency, there is the emergency.
Yes.
And if you don't respond, you could end up with a puddle on the living room floor.
Or worse. Or way worse.
Or way
oh,
worse.
good.
An infestation.
My 2-year-old has worked out how to poo and take off his nappy at the same time. Oh, genius. That's I know.
Complex thinking skills. That's
But yes.
something to be proud of.
And he's watched me putting clothes into the washing machine. So where is that dirty nappy exactly? Like, I'm not joking. Like, this whole thing is just like, the women are right about the stress of being a stay-at-home mum.
Then I kind of agree with the BBC for once, because the solution is basically just a Hungarian family policy.
Well, I mean, the thing
Tax
is,
model that actually incentivizes women to get back to work.
yeah, but the thing is, like, there will come a time where the children are, like, 10, 11, 12, whatever, and you actually don't need to be at home to look after them, right? They're going to be at school all day, and so the women will want to go back to the workforce full time, and that's fine. And actually, I do completely sympathise with the ladies here saying, look, I have a master's degree, I've had a corporate career in Starbucks before I became a mum, and the corporations do act as if being a full-time mum was just her laying around on her laurels, doing nothing, learning nothing, not developing any skills. It's like, no, the opposite. Like, you are developing a massive level of skills in certain things that you didn't realize you needed to do outside of the office.
There was a phase when the children discovered that it would be really entertaining to empty the dirty laundry basket and spread it all over the stairs.
Oh, that's kind.
It took us a while to get them out of that habit. Yeah. But then you'd sort of tidy up the living room and the kitchen. You're like, okay, I'm done for the day. And you discover that actually they spent the hour before bedtime tossing the laundry out of the laundry basket onto the stairs. And now you're about to go read them a story, and
you're never
good
done
luck.
for the day.
You are never done.
No,
you are never done.
And this is one thing that I do think that the stay-at-home mums deserve a bit of recognition in all.
Got to create some societal gratitude, haven't you? So.
But not just that, because there will come a time where a lot of them will want to go back to work because the children are now essentially not independent. But
we need to have a stay-at-home mum awareness month.
Well, yeah, I actually think that would
be much better than transgender awareness, whatever.
Yeah,
at least a World Stay-at-Home Mum Day to go up on Google once a year, I think.
That's UN stuff. We need a whole.
Oh, sorry,
we need a whole month.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, like, I actually am strongly in favour of stay-at-home mothers getting some respect. Actually, because
doesn't this fundamentally talk to the fact that we don't value kids? As well, because it's the mothers, but the whole point is, and you look at it from you can look at it from a utilitarian perspective, you can look at it from any perspective. A child is an economic unit, right? Let's just say they don't have a soul and a brain, according to Wes Streeting. Then we can basically just look at them as economic units. Well, you need a functional economic unit to be a better workforce, so who's going to produce that unit for you? It's the mother.
And not just that, the sort of Jordan Peterson-esque sort of, what kind of people do you want to live around?
Yes.
Right. Like children who are raised by their mothers are much more well adjusted than children who are just shoved into nurseries all day. What kind of people do you want passing in the street?
Yeah. There's an element of it.
Sorry.
No problem. Bless you. There's an element of it that sort of comes from the fact that social networks between women are no longer that good.
Yes.
And into family as well.
Within the family. So basically, if you had your sister living next door as a woman, if you were on constantly good terms with your neighbors because you have similar values and beliefs and you've grown up together, life becomes a lot easier for mothers. So the atomization of society also erodes these kinds of relationships between women that would have supported them in the past. And you saw that happen to the British working class when the council houses were built. For all of the faults of houses pre-council housing for the working class, the way that these neighborhoods had developed was very organic, meaning that big families lived next to each other. They didn't live in the same house, but they lived next to each other.
Takes a village to raise a child.
Takes a village to raise a child. So now the real difficulty is that there aren't other women who can sometimes lend a hand. Your children have grown, you sort of go and hang out with your neighbor, and as you do that,
all yourself.
The fact that it's that atomized for the women is really difficult.
Can I at the entire cottagecore online right just briefly, because this is the whole point. They look at 1950s housewifery as kind of the ideal standard, and they think everyone lives on a ranch miles apart. No, there were women raising 6 children and going out to work on top, with normally the 4th or 5th eldest raising the bottom 3.
Yes.
That's the system that we used to have, and that was all the way up to the middle classes. It wasn't some phenom for the working classes.
And there are lots of women comparing themselves to these Instagram trad wives who, and my wife says this to me all the time. It's like, oh look, her house is always so tidy. She's got 9 kids or whatever one she's following. How does she do it? And I'm like, it's all for shades.
Most probably it's 9 cleaners who work.
Three nannies.
Exactly. She'll bring the cleaner in
Crypto
to the house, then record the video. And that's and then you only see that, and you're looking at our living room full of toys and mess and whatnot. And you just say, how does she do this? She doesn't, darling. She doesn't. It's all
there's keeping up appearances, but we're taking that a whole step further.
But that's not what this is.
No, it's not. It's the room where the camera lives.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it was just one of those things where I like, for example, the woman saying, my brain feels like jelly. Yeah, I like, that's what happens. You find yourself not having enough sleep. You find yourself not having enough just personal space.
And with the atomization, women end up missing adult interactions a lot. So constantly talking to children is itself daunting because you have to talk at the child's level.
Yeah.
And that involves just brush your damn teeth already so that we can get moving.
Yeah.
Do this so that we can, move on to the next phase of the day. And children are obviously going to be resistant to being told what to do because that's in their nature. But the impact of that is that you spend all of your energy speaking on these conversations rather on anything that is of a deeper personal interest to you.
And you have to spend a lot of energy on these things.
And you have to spend a huge amount of energy on these things. And so having some avenue for adult interactions is necessary for women's mental health, really. But you're in this highly atomized society where you barely have any interactions with your neighbors. And
female conversation also is what you're talking about. Because
female conversation
is not just female; it's adult. My wife,
I think it's the adult part.
But also, how often do they get to make an interaction with another female friend? That's often
that's
part of it. Because,
that's
we can come home and talk about tanks at the end of the day, but
but it's not just that. You are absolutely right. It's about, and I've had my wife complaining about this. She's like, I haven't spoken to an adult all day.
Yes.
I just want to have a conversation like I would to any other normal person.
Yes.
And you can completely understand that actually there is a real issue with the breakdown of society. Because I mean, this is what happened when women en masse entered the workforce. Like, there were a series of things that women did outside of the economic zone that was what we consider to be society. Like, the arranging of things. Yeah, the parish.
This is why all of the churches are run by church ladies.
Yes. Yeah.
One of the consequences, they lived in these networks and they had a center of community, which was the church, and the parish center next to the church, or whatever it is, and that provided them with these outlets for adult conversation, adult organization, actual work that kept society together and kept the community together. And so you're not going to church anymore. That's a problem. Your family lives far away from you. That's a problem.
That's a real problem.
Your neighbors are strangers and they're constantly shifting. That's a third problem. So the ability to build lifelong friendships and relationships that are just as necessary for women as they are for men.
Oh, yeah.
Is sort of gutted.
I mean, this is the sort of thing that I mean, my dad was in the RAF, so we moved around all the time.
Right.
But I'd see it with my cousins, right? When we went to visit them, like we'd go to their neighbour's house, and so their parents would have some free time while we're like playing PlayStation or Nintendo or whatever in their cousin's friend's house,
Right.
because everyone knew each other. Everything was, they were all friends, totally trustworthy. They lived next to each other their whole lives. But now women are basically finding themselves completely alone. Like it's genuinely the sort of rugged individualism has been forced upon stay-at-home mothers.
Yes,
and it's rough.
Yes,
that is really rough. Like
it doesn't suit the women much more than it doesn't suit the men, because women are a lot more social.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they need these outlets. They need these,
even if it's just each other.
They also need a meeting place. I think this is something we've forgotten, right? And that used to be the parish. My parish is quite, I would say, forward thinking, although it's actually looking backwards in what it does. I mean, there are sherry evenings. There are, and these are regular events. These are, at least bi-weekly men's groups, women's groups, parish family days, all that kind of stuff, picnics, whatever it is. They're opportunities for people to meet. They don't have to come to every one, but they can connect and they can go away, and they might find out they live next door.
Yes.
And then they can actually build that network themselves.
Yes.
But the problem is we don't have them. Where are you going to meet? You're going to take your child down the pub? I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, they used to, but it's not just that though as well. It's like with the loss of the sort of the stay-at-home mum community, I guess we could call it.
Yes.
It's the unexpected intercessions, right? Where little James and his sister are going over to Bonnie's house to, because she's baking a cake, and do your kids want to come over for a few hours? And the mother's like, oh God, thank God, a couple of hours, I can get the house clean, I can have a bit of peace and quiet for for an hour or so. Like these random events that alleviate some of the burden, all disappear.
Yes.
Right?
And you've also got to check that her surname isn't Blue, because that would be a real problem.
Well, yeah, obviously, I was just a name off the top of my head. I was trying to think of an old-fashioned name. But the point is that there were always these series of unexpected and pleasant surprises and then you do the same for them. It's always like, I'm going to go down the shop.
There's always a give and take because it's neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. I'm walking down to the local shop. Do your kids want to ride their bikes down with my kids? And then you've got an hour to yourself. And it was always this small lattice of things that are happening, and that's just disappeared.
And if you could have them play with other children, you could sort of say, well, you get to play in this room and you don't get to go up to the bedrooms. Whereas if it's your children on their own, they have free run of the whole house.
Well,
so the damage is contained to one room, whereas you're working on the others. So this ability to shift burdens by having social networks is absolutely critical. And now it's just mum on her own.
Yes.
There's a practical element as well about knowing who your kids are playing with. That's the other issue because I think a lot of parents, particularly conservative parents, get insular because they feel like they're going to be literally going around to Bonnie Blue's house or whoever. It could be literally anyone. If you just let your kids play in the street, they're probably going to end up, coming back with Wes treating on your case.
Well,
whatever.
This is generally one of the problems, is that you don't, because of the diversification of society and the mobility that people demonstrate in society now, not social mobility, but physical mobility.
Yes.
You don't know who the people are around you, and so
stranger danger is real.
It's not even that you think like that. It's just that you don't know that person. You don't
low trust society.
Exactly, and so you never built a bond with them, and so it's not that they can just go over to that kid's house or their kids can come into your house. It just doesn't work that way.
So the erosion of shared values means that you don't trust your neighbors as much as you could.
Yes.
As much as you should in a healthy society. And the source of these shared values was pretty obvious. And it was in part homogeneity and familiarity and people growing up next to each other and being able to say, well, he's my childhood friend. Of course, I trust him and his wife. And this is gone. And the atomization is daunting. It's really exhausting, and especially for women.
Yeah. And this is the point of all of this, is that it is not unreasonable for this PhD woman, scientist, to be like, I am frazzled trying to raise just 2 children as well. She's not that, just 2. Completely frazzled. I can't seem to find anything solid or secure to stand on. No, I've got no one helping me. I'm on my own. During the day, and by the end of it, I just want to have an adult conversation and a bit of quiet.
Yes.
That is a totally reasonable response to the circumstances that are put in, but they shouldn't really be in these circumstances. They should have wider networks of support, and modern liberal capitalism, as we are in, actively undermines that.
Yes.
And deliberately makes this more difficult.
Yes.
Anyway,
So that's our version of feminism. It's loving women as women, being women, not wanting them to be men. That's the long and short of it, and having their own networks and their own independence and their own parallel society.
I actually am against rugged individualism for mums.
Yes,
I'm against it, and I think that's what genuine is. You say like a proper like feminism, like a womanism, would actually be more geared towards making that life easier.
yes,
And that's I think what would be more.
and it
wholesome
involves
for
a high trust society, and it involves a shared set of values, and it involves stable housing situations for people, and it involves development, economic development across the board, not just in London and the southeast. When you think this way, it has implications for pretty much everything. So if you put life first, and if you put the welfare of children first, naturally you put the welfare of mothers first, and then you ask yourself, what is the best society for a mother to function in? Well, it's got to be high trust. It's got to be economically stable. It's got to have shared values. It's got to have good neighborhoods. Everything else follows from that.
Yeah. And you can tell that this would be a community that had a kind of internal vitality,
Yes.
rather than a series of individuals who feel like they're barely hanging.
Well, and that's the irony of the left, because they're always trying to cater for outliers.
Yes.
But only in a society like that are outliers catered for.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
So in a society like that, if family X had a tragedy and the father was out of work or died or whatever, you can easily see the community coming together and saying, well, we have a duty towards this family.
Yes.
And we have a duty towards these children.
Of course.
And we want to make sure that, their living standards may not be the same, but they're not living in
They're not going to go
paupery.
hungry.
They're not living in paupery. They're not going to go hungry. They have clothes. They have food. They have the basic necessities. In a charity like that, you can afford to be charitable to your neighbors.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas what we have here is
And you would
coerced charity by the state, which ends up supporting the worst elements of society.
And you would want to help your neighbours as well. Like, you wouldn't resent it. Like I the new tax year is coming up, and man, am I already really resentful, like insanely resentful. So but I wouldn't. Obviously, I'd be very happy to help.
Yes,
And
exactly.
so anyway, the point being is the way that we're doing social life and family life is just wrong, and I'm actually very sympathetic to what stay-at-home mums have to go through, frankly, on a daily basis. So thanks, darling. I much appreciate your sacrifice. Do we have
We love our wives.
Yeah, do we have video comments today, Harry? No, right, okay, great. Martin says, invoking Christian morality, we shall too. Let those who lead the little ones astray be thrown into the sea with the millstones around their necks.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah, man, your segment was mad, wasn't it? Omar says, the term someone who experiments in defiance of nature and the natural order is a mad scientist.
Yes.
These lunatics are so steeped in the sin of pride that they think they can play God ethically. And that's the thing. It's just so mad that they say, yeah, so we're going to experiment on some kids now, irreversible, irrevocable, and possibly life-threatening experiments, and we're just going to do this. It's just normal, and
Because this is what the scientific process requires.
Yeah.
Because this is what the process requires. This is what will set these children free. Insane.
Baron von Warhawk says, and it literally is creating eunuchs. We're going to create a eunuch class.
Yes.
For whatever goddamn reason. In any other period in history, these types of doctors who want to experiment on children by injecting them with chemicals and slicing apart genitals would have been burned at the stake by now. History will not look upon this favourably. Yeah, it's pretty mad.
There should be trials for all of these people at some point. There have to be trials.
The thing is, I don't think there will be, because I think that because they sincerely believe what they are doing is right, nobody believes them to be evil, right?
I mean,
Like the average person doesn't think.
the average child sacrificer thinks that he is doing the right thing to appease the gods. This should be treated in the exact same way.
Yeah, but there's no just anger. That's the
Yeah.
problem. So you,
There should be. Just
but there should be. But
Why isn't there? That's
there
the
isn't,
question.
because everyone's been pacified. Everyone would prefer
Everyone
to
has
just
been
go
neutered.
along. Oh, you see it all the time. There's that famous experiment where someone gets treated unfairly in a class, and the whole point of the experiment is to show that no one does anything about it.
Yeah.
We've been neutered as a society. We don't have a just morality.
I think it's more than that. I think that basically the prevailing morality of our society is more freedom is better, right? And so the Wes Streetings of the world saying, well, we're trying to provide these poor children with more freedom.
yes.
it aligns with the prevailing morality.
It goes back to frameworks, because what is freedom?
Well, yeah, exactly.
His
I mean,
definition
don't get
of
me wrong.
freedom is just totally different to
Completely
ours.
agree, obviously.
Exactly.
But the point is that it doesn't flag up red flags for us, right? Whereas if someone's like, well, I'm a practicing Aztec, and now I have to sacrifice some humans, we would naturally take umbrage with it because it goes so against the grain of our own morality. But I think the problem is, because it's flowing down the same river of our own morality, we just can't muster the outrage and the indignancy.
Yep.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.